For me, the most powerful way to share is story. And I think we all believe in story in this room. You are the messengers of story, of our stories. These stories that get to travel into the minds and the hearts of your audiences. These stories that allow us to be so different and somehow find a way of connecting, to bring us together instead of tearing us apart. And while my story in sport begins when I was 17 years old, I'm not going to start there because we don't have enough time. But I will mention, I have not always been Olympian. I was a Winnipeg kid, and I took to the streets hard at 13 years old, and that only ended because I saw the Olympics on TV when I was 17. I was a world-class delinquent before I was a world-class athlete, all right? I had all of these leadership skills and qualities, and I was somewhat of a ringleader because I've been this tall and wore a lot more makeup and had bigger hair at 13 so I could go to the beer vendor and not get ID'd. I was that kid. I was also that kid who was scared. I was a kid that grew up in a home that wasn't safe. I came into this world in a really unsafe way and have never, until recent years, begun to feel safety in my life. And so as a young person, I used things to numb that pain and that fear and that genuine terror. And those things were drugs and alcohol and truancy and getting into all sorts of trouble, because the more trouble I could get into and the more I put in my body, the less I had to feel these terrifying things I could not even begin to understand. And when that changed was when I saw Gaetan Boucher skate, and I had the audacity to believe that I could be him. I had the belief inside of me that I was going to skate for Canada one day when I had my pack of smokes in my pocket and my party plans that weekend that I still did go and do. It took a little bit of time to shift and change, but all of a sudden, when my mom got me involved with the local community club, got a pair of rental skates, and I stepped on that ice with the best skaters in the province, I was suddenly surrounded by these people trying to be good at something, pouring everything of themselves into diet, into the nutrition, into training, into sleep. I realized I had to get good marks in school because I wanted to travel to Regina, Saskatchewan for a skating meet. And for this inner city kid from Winnipeg, it was like going to the moon. And so sport got me on track, on the fast track to becoming the best in my province, in my nation, and then ultimately in the world. And on the outside, on this path of transformation, from the seed that was planted inside of me of hope and possibility and being something worthy of being alive. It was actually a new path of destruction. I had found new ways to hurt myself and new, clever, very powerful ways to not feel. The elements of training led to overtraining. The elements of nutrition led to starving myself. The elements of everything that was expected of me as an athlete, I took to the highest degree, because the more I trained and the more I hurt and harmed myself in this process, and the more I won and the more people told me how good I was and how fast I was and how proud I made them, I punished myself by not allowing myself to feel those things inside. I was an addict with a new drug. And this drug led me to my first Olympics and this ultimate chance to bring something beautiful and shiny and heavy home, and that was an Olympic medal. And inside, as I traveled this world of sport and improved my physical, emotional, not spiritual capabilities, the less I felt and the more desperate I was. And so I went into my first Olympic Games way back in 1996 as a virtual unknown in this fringe sport of women's bicycle racing. And I came home a sort of household name because I bookended Canada's medal performance at that Games with 2 bronze medals of my own. And those medals for me meant everything, because I actually thought I was going to take something that I won and something that I had on the outside of myself, and I was going to take it home and fix everything. I was going to help my dad with his alcoholism. I was going to help my sister, who was in another emergency room struggling for her life after trying to take her life. And I was going to help my mom, who was numb. These medals were going to fix it all. And of course, it didn't work. And because this ultimate thing didn't work, I spiraled into the first mental health crisis, and not the last of my lifetime. And it was a long journey coming out, and it didn't happen alone. And I got lucky in this time of great struggle when I went from Olympic cloud 9 to literally 6 feet under, isolating myself, wanting to disappear, going back to drugs and alcohol to try to manage and cope this unbearable pain inside. And I got lucky because people in my workplace reached out. They told me they didn't need me nor expect me to win again, but they were worried about me as a human being. I sat in a doctor's office, and instead of going through a routine physical, she went over a very clear and clinical description of a mood disorder and substance use disorder and told me what she saw in me sitting across from her. She went on to clinically describe to me all the different ways a person can get help, through medication, through counseling, through a change in lifestyle. And she said to me, Clara, there's so many different ways to do this thing you're trying to do. Just be curious, be creative, and know that we are here for you. It took me 2 years, but I finally got back because I had nowhere else to go. I came back into the hands of a new teacher, a new coach who cared more about me as a human being than any medal that I could win. This coach was determined to teach me to listen to my body for the first time in my life and not just use this body as a machine. I went on to another Summer Olympics with this coach, Eric, and we came in second last place in the road race. I had the whooping cough. But I can tell you unequivocally, I am more proud and connected to that result than the 2 bronze medals 4 years earlier. From that result, finishing what I started, not giving up on the possibility of doing something special, I experienced something so special. I taught myself what is possible when I truly give myself to what I am doing. And most importantly, this coach encouraged me to take my first steps on my healing path. That healing path that continues to this day.